Kris, as the economy has been shifting, I've been hearing this term thrown out left and right, like Grant Cardone, Alex Hermosi, Ryan Pineda, Roland Frey, they all use this term, consult for equity. And they're talking about doing consult for equities. What is this? And are you doing it?
So consult for equity is probably one of the smartest financial plays for a financial influencer. And so you take a look at all the names you just dropped there, and they specialize in different verticals. You know, Pineda's playing deep in the real estate investment game. He has his wholesaling, thing. Roland Frazier, who I partnered with actually on a number of deals, he's actually been very much in the scaling space. He's got his company Scalable. This idea of consult for equities basically says when you have achieved a high level of business success repeatedly over a number of companies, you've kind of hacked the ability on how to grow business. So a lot of these, gurus or financial experts will come out and basically say, hey, I'm now going to provide a very special type of consulting service, and I'm going to call it consult for equity. And commonplace what's happening there is they're saying, give me 10% of your company, let me help you 10x your company. And it becomes this game that if they're familiar with how to grow a business in your space, would you trade, and this is the question, it's the $1 million and could be the $1 billion question, would you trade 10% of your company for 10x growth?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would. In fact, a lot of people, when they start business, they give away a lot of equity when they first, and I think it's a mistake in the beginning to be like, hey, be my partner, and instead of paying you, I'll give you a bunch of equity.
I think it depends.
About?
When I first became a business owner, I handed equity out like candy.
Yeah.
It was the first thing that I used as an incentivizer for high-level employees to basically get engaged in the game. And it ended up being one of the biggest mistakes that I ever made. At one point, I basically had a 50-50 partnership, and I got to the point where in the beginning I loved it, and by the end I was not loving it so much. We kind of had outgrown each other, and we wanted to go two different ways. And when I kind of had that breakup, I swore to myself, I'm never going to give up equity ever again. So I went the other direction, the way a lot of business owners do that have been hurt. And just by the way, if you've been hurt in a relationship, you can say, well, I don't trust women or I don't trust men. And I was very mistrusting with business equity. What's ironic these days is I'll give up easily, hands down, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of my equity all day long if I can produce the right type of trade that gives me access to growth that I couldn't get otherwise. So it's weird. I've come full circle. In the beginning, it was I gave equity away. I hated myself for it. I swore I'd never do it again. And today, equity now, I don't give it away like I did in the beginning. It's a very specific, it's a very serious tool. There are 7 other ways to motivate other people outside of equity to get them to do what you want. And equity should be the final thing that you give away. But now equity is like one of the most important strategy points on how I build everything inside my own empire.
So let's talk a little bit about this, because you're talking about giving away equity to have someone come in and help you 10x. But are you also offering that to other companies?
Yeah. So, I mean, every single week I have a vetted company. My team came in, we did an analysis, we looked at them, they're profitable. But they're basically saying, we need crazy next levels of growth, and we know that you can get us there, but we don't have those access points. Sometimes it's what I know about the game of social media, because I get millions of organic social media hits. I don't pay for any of those. There's no paid advertising in that. I have a different business that does paid advertising, and we do really cool ROAS arbitrage, and we do that game. And then on this, on the other hand, I've got systems around, the $2+ billion worth of real estate that I've acquired. I have a machine that basically builds companies that builds companies. I've got training systems. I've got, so people look at my resources and they look at all the companies that I own. They look at my success. I'm through my learning curve on the School of Hard Knocks. I've now shown that I can have repeated success over and over and over again across multiple industries. And so if you find someone that resonates industry-wise with me, if they are producing $1 million a year, $5 million a year, $10 million a year, and they're really serious about growth, there's a super high likelihood that I can come in and just pull from my bag of tricks all of my, successes and wins and strategies and SOPs and drivers, et cetera, that I can superimpose on them and then give them basically the shortcut to success. That's the consult for equity. I do play that game, but that's what they're doing. And they're starting to realize that you can either take stacks of cash up front, but at some point, you can't keep charging people. Like, take private mentorship, right? The very first client that did a year of mentorship with me paid $20,000. This is a long time ago. And then I remember that, my next client paid $30,000, then one paid $40,000. I kept my rate there for a little bit, and I'd only take a handful of people a year. And then it went to $100,000. And I remember when it went to $250,000, I'm like, I'm kind of running out on. There's not too many people that can pay that for the type of mentorship, and that was also not true. But at some point, you start saying, is it easier to trade for money, or is it easier to barter for something different? And if you're going to help someone grow their company, and you really know that you can grow it, would you prefer money, or would you want a slice of the equity?
Well, if you're really going to grow it and you believe you can, it'd be smarter to play the equity play.
100%. And so Consult for Equity, I believe 10 years from now, I'm going to have ownership in 10,000 different companies. And this is just one of the methods for, I know.
That's a
Tim
lot.
Tebow laughed
That's
at me
a
too.
lot. That's a
Tebow,
lot.
I was just with Tebow last week in Ed Milet, and I told that in an introductory. We were kind of going around. I was a donor to his foundation at a pretty high level. So there was a special mastermind with all these amazing superstars. And I told that like for me, it's just normalized. And Tim's like, wait, what? Like, pause. Did you mean what you just said? What do you mean by that? Like, what is that? And either I'm a crazy person or I have strategy.
Or
I got
both.
game. Yeah, some of both.
Someone with a big long-term strategy.
No, but there's a way to do that. I like to build machines that build machines.
Yes.
Right? Most people don't think that way. They think as operators, which means, okay, well, I'll give this amount of time and then I'll be really busy and hopefully it makes good money. When they want to make more money, they think of how they can strategize giving away more time. At some point, you have to get out of the time arbitrage game and you have to deploy something more intelligent. Can I tell you what's way more intelligent than me? All the people that I hire that are specialists that build my companies. They are, some of them, if I start combining them and adding them to each other, they are like 10 Kris Krohns, 100 Kris Krohns. They're so capable. Because I'm not good at everything. I'm the visionary. I'm really good. I like the way Sir Richard Branson does it. He says, go have a clear, defined vision on exactly what you want. Find the very best people in the world and get out of their way. Like, that's that dude's approach to how he's built several billion-dollar companies. And I think I stole that out of his playbook. I like that one.
So let's pretend that you have 10,000 companies you have equity in. First off, your tax return must be crazy wonky. But then also, if you have some exits, I mean, that's the ultimate plan, right?
Yeah. So let's bring it down to a really small number. Let's say that there were 10 companies that I did this Consult for Equity deal with. As I'm growing these companies, as I help them double, triple, quadruple, and on, then as those companies are profitable, guess what it does? It produces distributions to me. So now I'm getting paid regularly off of the growth of those companies. And if I'm the one that has really been the mastermind behind a lot of that growth, people are, dude, that is the happiest check that they stroke. And they keep getting more of me, so they're loving it. But the goal is at some point to exit these companies. And a lot of companies have a 3 to 7 year time horizon. So for those that are going to go to exit, this creates, we sold for 30 million and here's 3 million to you. And we sold for 70 million and here's 7 million to you. And this was a small one. We sold for 12 million, but here's a couple $1,000,000. And so yes, it is, what it does is it pays you along the way if you're successful in growing a company. And then there's also great money to be made just in the exit of that as well. And yes, and because I have a strat, like my goal, I'm going to live 100 more years. Like, I'm biohacking, I'm freaking healthy as an ox, I'm growing my heart, I'm growing my muscles, I'm taking like 1 million supplements. I'm doing what a lot of people my age are. We're all into the biohacking game. If you really love life, I'm going to live another 100 years. So I want to be a trillionaire. And I want to spend $1 trillion on my own foundation and my philanthropy that I want to do in the world. And it's a worthy goal. It's a worthy cause. We're doing incredible things around the entire planet. And, it takes money to make that go around. And sometimes that's relationship capital. And sometimes it's just cash. And so I love the game. And I love helping companies grow. And it's fun. It's like, what's easier? You tell me. Is it easier to take a company that has been through the learning curve, that is not meeting their potential and get a piece of their upside, or to start a company from scratch? What do you think is easier? Start from scratch?
No.
Or take a company that has proven its ability?
I think in E-Myth Revisited, he says that like 80% of companies fail in their first 10 years.
That's true.
So
That percentage is very accurate.
Starting from scratch is starting from crap.
Yeah. And by the way, starting from scratch does work for some notions and ideas and tech plays, et cetera. But give me an existing company that knows they have way more potential inside of them, and I'll take one of those any day of the week, throw all my resources at them, and freaking blow them up. Now that's fun.
Yeah. Okay. Can I play my favorite thing to do with you, Kris?
Devil's advocate. There we go.
Yes.
I saw the devil
okay.
coming.
I'm like
know you.
picturing our listeners, and they're like, okay, Kris, for an Alex Hormozi or a Grant Cardone doing these consult for equities, like that's cool that you guys can do it. What does it mean for the average listener?
So first of all, you can learn how to do this. There's a lot of people that aren't going to have confidence until they have 2 or 3 companies under their belt. But there are ways. There's a lot of people that start out with mergers, acquisitions, roll-ups, like Grant Cardone. Have you seen all of his advertising for the last couple of years about the HVAC? It's like, why is this real estate dude 10X all about HVAC, 10X HVAC?
Roll-up.
People don't understand what a roll-up is. What he's doing is he's convincing owners of HVAC companies to all join under one brand. And what he'll do is he'll say, if I can roll us all together, we're going to become attracted to private equity. Private equity is an organization with a lot of money that wants to invest in a company that's going to grow. And so when you're just a mom and pop shop HVAC, it's like, well, we did $1.3 million in gross revenue, and we did that on a 30% profit margin. So we made, $200,000-$300,000 at the end of the day. Well, no private equity company is going to be interested in that. But if you take, 20 of those and string them all together, and you now have $8 million in EBITDA, now all of a sudden they say, well, we were going to give you a really low multiplier because you're big though. And because we can do more of a volume play, we'll award you a 4, 5, 6, or 7 multiplier. And now all of a sudden that 7 million of EBITDA is now 40 million. Well, whoever combined those small mom and pop shops and put them together, they're going to negotiate a monster payday for themselves. Well, and that's what Grant's doing.
And the people that are joining the roll-up, the owners of these HVAC companies who don't want to be owners of HVAC companies anymore, they can have an exit that's much bigger than if they had tried to sell.
Yeah, I'm doing a roll-up right now in the roofing game. It's the exact same thing. A lot of these business owners are doing $2 to $3 million in gross. They're keeping $500,000 or so for themselves. And they're not attractive for anyone to buy at maybe a 1 or a 2X. They can go to a 6, 7, or 8X if they basically band with everyone else, come under one brand, one system, and then have a logo that doesn't look like a stupid hammer and nail forming a letter. They're not tech people, right? They don't have systems. They don't have CRMs. They're not using AI. So in the roofing space, I'm coming in and I'm rolling them all together. I'm playing that game. And it's fun. It's exciting. I get to actually let someone know I can increase the value of your company, make it worth so much more, and take over all the day-to-day so you can step into being an owner instead of an operator. They love it.
Sorry, I'm just still laughing that you said they don't have a logo that looks like a hammer and a nail forming a letter. I can see it.
Yeah, I have a ruler.
Roof.
Yes. They like to take the tools that they use every day and spell letters with them.
Yes.
No one else likes it. No one else gets it, but that's okay.
It's like real estate agents on park benches.
Yes, my face.
I'm so cool.
I know. So that's so there's a lot of ways that people can get in the game. So a lot of people will buy an entry-level course, they'll join a mastermind. I have these things myself. A lot of times when people come to my main event, Unleash Your Financial Destiny, we're teaching them about this and unleashing ways that we can say, hey, bring companies to me that might be a good fit. And instead of you doing it, I'll do it all for you, but I'll give you a piece of everything we generate. And for them, that's usually $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month of residual income for just bringing a deal my way. And then they get a piece of the exit. So they're out of their mind thrilled, but it's a way for them to play the game and they don't have to actually provide any fulfillment.
Well, and the other thing you said...
By the way, I've never seen anyone do that.
Yeah, I'm loving this.
Yeah.
You mentioned how the problem with starting is the confidence.
Yeah.
Be able to go talk to these businesses. And if you don't, you said 1 or 2 businesses under your belt, but if they're leveraging your track record...
Yeah, well, then it's a very, very different game because now we're talking hundreds of businesses and most companies are missing components to the complete blueprint on how to have a successful company. They struggle with a hiring system to find A players. They don't have a way of incentivizing shared winning because there's a disproportionate reward for the owners when the company wins and the employees get nothing. That's a problem. Culture. They don't have an exciting culture. They're just a company where you receive a paycheck and you do work and it's kind of drudgery because 85% of people hate what they do for a living. So there's these different, there's got to be an accountability component. How do you actually know on a daily basis without micromanaging? How do you know that people are doing the work that you need to produce your company's KPIs and outcomes? So when I bring that to the table, and that's not even to mention getting into leadership training, leadership development, training people to think like CEOs, you start layering that in and all of a sudden companies start realizing, wow, you have a lot to offer. Like you can come in here, you can fix all of those things, or you have SOPs for systems that, you've done a couple $100 million of selling of products, high and low ticket through this methodology, or you're doing it through AI, or you're doing it through live phone calls, or you're doing it through 7-figure webinars or live events. And all of a sudden, especially coaching companies, they love doing Consult for Equity with me because I've built those companies so many times, like the back of my hand. I'm just a shortcut to them. And so it really is a time versus money game, and you give up a little to get a lot. And that value exchange ends up being a huge, huge win for people. So if you have the right business advisor with the right resources, a Consult for Equity could be one of the smartest things you do. By the way, I have business advisors in most of my companies. And so I'm practicing what I preach on this one.
Kris, if someone knows of a business that may benefit from this type of consulting with you, what can they do?
They can reach out. Just get with kriskrohn.com. You're eventually going to wind your way to a human being that can direct you where you want to go. This is definitely not a mainstream thing that I lead with. It's not what I come out of the gate with. But it is where I this is where I help companies grow the most for sure.
Yeah. And if they just hit up support at kriskrohn.com, they'll funnel that.
They'll find a way.
Yep.
They'll find a way.
Okay. You talk a billionaire blueprint.
Yes.
Talk to me about how this fits into that blueprint.
So there are pit stops that we make unintentionally along the way to our financial growth.
Yeah.
And I believe that anyone given enough time can become a billionaire. I've been on my own journey for 14 years since I decided January 2009, January 15th is when I declared I'm going to be a billionaire. Didn't know how I was going to get there. I just knew that it was important for my mission and purpose. And, I think realistically, I've got a guess of when that's going to be achieved. It's around the corner. And so because of that, I've started reverse engineering. How did I get here? Because I wasn't a tech nerd. I wasn't didn't invent some crazy popular video game. I didn't create something novel. Some of us look at like Zuckerberg and we're like, oh, well, that guy won the Lucky Sperm Club because he came up with Facebook, or Elon Musk dropped out of his PhD program and bet it all on PayPal, took his winnings, went to Tesla. Then how come he keeps having repeat wins? Well, maybe he literally is just a certified genius. Or Warren Buffett, 55 years old when he made his first billion. Now, like with acceleration, how many tens of billions has that been? And he's given to charity. So I studied these people, and then I basically said, I wonder if there's a way to do that without being a genius. And I believe that there is. And so at my events, I love teaching the Billionaire Blueprint. And if I were to give you the short form, it's basically we all get fed the dogma of grades and college equals a piece of paper that says you're smart and 40 years of working for someone else will work. But if you do the math, it's not going to work because 401ks and IRAs and the amount of savings that you can, whatever your salary is, times it by 40 years. You can't save the $3, $4, $5 million that you need in retirement by just being an accumulator. So accumulation will fail you. So you got to move on. You either become a professional investor or you become an entrepreneur. So that's the first pit stop, is realizing the problem of being an employee and then finding a solution. And then you graduate to being a business owner. And the problem with being a business owner is that there's no school for it. So you go through the school of hard knocks and you suck at it. And so you become a struggling operator. You're trading more time than when you had a W-2. You're working harder than you ever have. And you're more stressed than you've ever been.
What does Robert Kiyosaki say? Instead of having a job, you own a job?
Yes. Yeah. And so eventually, if you stick with it long enough, you're going to learn enough of the lessons. And instead of the job killing you, you're going to finally become a successful business owner. And that means now that it's like, well, now I'm an operator, but I'm a successful operator instead of a struggling one. And that's the third pit stop is now I know how to operate a business and make good money. And this is what entrepreneurs are trying to get to, except they're stuck again. Because instead of a W-2, now they have a better paying W-2 called a job that they do own, but it really owns them. So the fourth pit stop is when you figure out how to become the owner instead of an operator. And this is where you have to learn how to trust people and set up systems that will ultimately allow others to run the business more successfully than you. And this one is more emotional of a pit stop than anything else.
It's got to be the hardest, huh?
Yeah, and without going kind of deep, like my success didn't happen until I fired myself as a manager. I'm an awful manager. I'm a great creator. I'm even a great implementer, but I'm an awful manager. Management is all about people. So I sucked at that. You know that because you became eventually the CEO of my company, where our roads meet. And then once you learn how to become a successful owner, then you learn how to iterate, which is if you did it once, you can do it a second time even bigger in a shorter period of time. So let's just say someone spends 10, 20 years until they finally figure out how to go from operator to owner. On their second company, it'll happen in less than 3 years. By the third company, fourth company, fifth company, you're going to stop starting as an operator and you're going to start as an owner, which means you're going to raise capital. You're going to hire someone really smart. You're going to let them build the thing from day one. You've got the money to do it now, or you've raised it. And by your fifth company, I always tell people your fifth company is when you're going to hit your stride and make your most money. And then after that, if you can do 5, you can do 50. If you do 50, you can do 100. I'm going to do 10,000.
Well, and I think honestly, if you're starting a business and you're thinking this is just my first of many, you're going to approach that business different than if you this is my end all be all. It's got to be everything. It's got to be amazing. And you're going to make it too precious, make it too.
Yeah. Well, that's just part of the problems in the beginning. You get really attached
and
you don't have all the data. And you're more committed to your product and service than you are your people. I mean, frankly, you're just making mistakes left and right. That's the problem with it. This is where Consult for Equity ends up giving someone wait, in 6 months or a year or two, I could be done being an operator. I could be an owner. We could clean up the cap table. We could increase my margins. I could ultimately hire someone to replace me. And you're telling me this is going to work better than if I'm here? Because I'm pretty sure that I'm better than everyone on my team. I'm like, I know that's your problem. I'm going to hire people way better than you. And all of a sudden, if they're very teachable, very open-minded, and follow the advice, you can truncate decades into months. And so that's really what Consult for Equity is all about, is it's about shortening the learning curve. And that just means that you can stop, if you finally own a successful company instead of operating it, then you can literally have 2 or 3, but it doesn't have to take more time. And for me, I'm basically on a quest to prove that you can own not 100, but 10,000 companies and still never have it own you. I don't work 100-hour weeks, 50-hour weeks. I don't do any of that crazy stuff. And I believe that's very, very possible, but the secret does come down to the people that you put in your life and not who you are. It's not what you know. And it's certainly not what you think you know. It's who you know. And so I leverage the who like crazy.
All right, Kris. So if someone owns a company, what can they do?
If someone owns a company and is like, geez, I got to find someone to do some type of business advisory arrangement with. If someone is out there that can really 10x my company for 1/10 of my equity, I mean, we should all be looking for that. And I might have that solution for you. So again, you can go to support@kriskrohn.com, try that out. But also, I would even say, even if you're not a business owner and you love what you're hearing, there's a way for you to take advantage of all of this without even owning a company. And I basically have a Consult for Equity affiliate program that says, I'll teach you how to find me companies. And then if I work with them, I'll give you a cut every month, also of the net worth and the exit for life. And that right there, I mean, that's a huge winner. So there's a way for everyone to win in the space. There's a reason why the biggest names out there are doing it. You just got to find the right person to do it with.